Another issue that involves a lot of ethical discussions when we do immigration reform is who gets admitted, not just to the United States, but also to other countries. It's an ongoing, probably the biggest question at the center of debates over migration: who gets admitted and why. Whether it's refugees, for example, the crisis in Haiti, whether it's natural disaster refugees or political refugees, there's been a long-standing precedent for giving some sort of preference to those sort of situations, which I think we should be doing for Haiti. There's a question of family reunification, which is incredibly important. In the United States, unfortunately, what we call family reunification policies, when combined with the bigger situation, has resulted in someone's adult aunt or uncle getting in line ahead of a spouse or a minor child, which doesn't sound to me like a very good way of doing family reunification. And there's also the question of skills and job-based visas. A lot of migration is driven by economic reasons. And in Mexico and other countries, there's often a very, very difficult dilemma in that countries have a lot of incentives to let people migrate so that they can send remittances back, but that provides a disincentive in many cases to invest in education, which over the long term actually generates more migration. I've heard several stories over the last year of small towns in Mexico where there was an actual concerted effort to build high schools to get people going to school, and an apple grower from Washington State comes down and says, I've got these jobs, paying many times more than what you could make even with a high school degree here, and they pick up and go. And I think that our admissions criteria should reflect much more a concern with the impact on the sending countries, whether that involves nurses and doctors from the Philippines, from Africa, coming to the United States and not providing enough personnel who are skilled in healthcare in those countries. In other cases, seeing healthcare systems that have different standards so that someone who comes to the United States and learns a lot of skills can't necessarily apply those skills if they were to go back to their country of origin, which would be the sort of ideal way to circulate technology transfer, skills transfer among countries. And there's also been some interesting research, particularly a Center for Global Development study on Fiji, which was an interesting case because there was a lot of political upheaval at the same time that Australia had changed some of its migration entry criteria to put much more emphasis on skills. And this study found that not only was there more investment in education by the government and by individuals, but the stock of educated people with college, university degrees increased. Not only including the people who left to get jobs other places, but also actually among those who stayed home, that when there is an incentive to increase your education, even skilled migration out of a country can leave that country better off. And I think that that's an element that has often been left out of some of the entry criteria. The biggest problem in the United States, I think, is that we don't have fair, workable, and consistent criteria for people to come in. I think the answer to that is a much more expansive set of criteria that allow people to come in, but also a much clearer set of reasons.